Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very proud to be here talking to you today. As the first speaker, I want to verify I'm not nervous at all. Not nervous at all. Everything's under control. I love the movie Scrooged, especially around Christmas time. I'm guessing you've seen it. Christmas isn't too far away from here. And it's one of those movies that's on sometimes other than Christmas, and like Shawshank Redemption or A Few Good Men. If it's on, I'm watching it. Could be right smack in the middle of the film, doesn't matter. But it's the ending of the film that really captivates me. By the time that film is over, I'm going to be in tears, and it can be a July afternoon. So I want to point out how that ending of that film, it's that Ebenezer Scrooge character, and he is literally reaching through the screen, and he's imploring you to make the change that he's made. That he is not just going to feel that way for one single day, that it is really going to make a difference to him. And that's essentially what I want to talk to you a little bit about today. Now, I'm cautious. I know that there are people in the world who are talking about things that they have never done themselves before. Education happens a lot like that, doesn't it? But that's a whole other TED Talk. I won't go there today. And over the past few months getting ready for this speech, in fact, I had moments where I had to remind myself of my own topic. There were times when I was letting the little things in life bother me. There were times when I actually paused and went, wait, am I full of shit here? What's going on? I'm pretty sure I'm not, but I'm gonna check back with you at the end of the evening. So why does this matter? Why is this important? This is more than a meme that says make lemonades out of lemons. We have all kinds of negativity in the world. You don't have to look too far. It comes to you. It's on the news. People sell it. People make money out of that fear and negativity. For something like this to be necessary on social media. And social media is so much at our fingertips right now. Today is a great example. I'm going to tweet that. I kind of like that. Oh, intermission. So the fact that this is in our faces every day makes this a prominent topic for everybody. It starts in school, which is the beauty of this, getting to work with kids. As this bulletin board suggests, we have a golden opportunity to impact the way students perceive everything. And right now, it's a really neat time in education. So many people are asking students to embrace mistakes, embrace the messiness of teaching and learning. And if you can see some of the different ways that we're asking students to perceive even things like failing, even things like not learning something the first time, it's such a neat moment to begin working with students right now. But it's easy to forget that teachers, like myself, need to remember this too when we're teaching, and all adults need to remember this. We want students and we want ourselves to run at failures and to process them in a way that makes them okay. It's not just about the big things. It's not just about students taking tests. It's about every moment that we can choose to perceive it in that way. Now, a lot of times in our lives, we are dealing with maybe family or friends, and by default, we work with them or they're part of our family. But there's so many moments of beauty in the world if we'll just take a look and see them. This is Kara. She's a colleague of mine. She's going to love I use this picture. She's young. She's vibrant. She's charismatic. She's everything I used to be. No, she's such a delight to work with. But having her join our team, there's where the perception comes in. Would have been easy to be a little threatened by that. But instead, I like to just take joy in how much of a difference she's making, both on my team and watching a young teacher like that with a new family. It's inspiring. It is absolutely inspiring. She gives me perspective. She allows me to have that golfing metaphor of being on the back nine, which is supposed to be a good thing. You're in the cart, you're heading for the clubhouse, you're looking for anything to give you perspective. Could even be that one good shot. And that's what she allows me to do. I'm inspired by watching how much she loves teaching and how much of a difference she makes with her students. Here's another young colleague of mine. I must be getting old. All my colleagues are young. Something's going on here. This is Megan, and she's decidedly about to give birth right here in one of our freshman mentor activities. In fact, she talked about that. I got to tell you, the freshmen weren't ready for that, and I wasn't ready for that either, so we're all glad it didn't happen. She is so dedicated. She gives so much of herself to her students, and she's one of these, you know them, they're annoyingly humble people. She doesn't seem to know what a difference she makes. And that's okay. But I sometimes wish that she would be able to really sense the difference she's making. Because there are a lot of places, education notwithstanding, that you just don't get that feedback. You don't get to truly know. She's now a counselor, watching how many lives she's impacted. watching her work with students, her own new young family as well. It is just unbelievably inspiring to even be in the same room with her. Here's a not so young teacher. That's my wife. I'll walk home. I know, I'll walk home. Very few people, perhaps other than myself, know how much time and energy she gives to all her students. And the experiences that many of them have in her activities, some of whom probably wouldn't get them anywhere else. There's really no way to measure that. And I know that she probably doesn't even want me talking about her right now, but it's just limitless. The number of families and teachers and that she's meant something to, the number of students and families who have come back to tell her that she's made a difference. My Lord, we ran into somebody at Disney World, and it was like, really? So there you are, there's another one. So it's just the widespread impact is just such a beautiful thing. Now, there are moments that go viral. There are moments that transcend everything from economics to politics to gender. The moment when someone literally takes the shirt off his back to help someone else. But these things don't have to go viral to matter. Viral can be very much overrated. These are just moments of beautiful human behavior that are done when no one is watching. This is a student of mine who, on her own, asked if she could start a positive message of the day text for her classmates and her. And this was not done for credit for anything. This was not part of some type of activity where you got credit for being involved with it. In fact, she didn't want anyone to know she was doing it. And this is a 14-year-old young adult who has, as you can imagine, all kinds of other things to deal with. Everything from academics to social life that young adolescents deal with. And for her to come forward completely on her own and ask if I would assist her with this, that was just such a beautiful moment. Didn't get any attention, didn't make the news, didn't matter. High school students, oftentimes you might say, very much have so much on their plate they can only do things for themselves. High school seniors especially, they are heading off to college soon. They're just putting in their time. We become the little speed bumps on the road to the bigger and better. And then you realize some seniors are coming in on their lunch and after school when all their friends have gone home. And without any fanfare and without any recognition, they're on their hands and knees wrapping presents for a battered women's and children's shelter. And I contributed to this because it sounded great, but I really didn't know who was doing it. I just pitched in because it sounded like a neat activity. And I stepped out of my room one day, and I literally saw this. And I saw these small moments of caring and giving that probably weren't going to make Facebook or go viral. But they made a huge difference for some people, and they weren't done just because they had to be. This was completely voluntary. This wasn't to get hours for anything. And they probably were never going to see the faces of the people who received these gifts. And I would not have seen this if I wouldn't have just walked outside and taken a peek and taken one more step forward, because I had to choose to pay attention to that during my own busy day. Okay, well, this is all well and good for those little annoyances, but does this really make a difference when it comes to the big things? How much of this is beyond just the daily ebb and flow of life? We lost a student last year, very unexpectedly, and it was a former student of mine, and you can imagine, you might have been through this, what this does to a school. It cripples you, and you're dealing with your own emotions, you're watching the family and the students' friends deal with it, and they're looking to you, as they do, and oftentimes people that work with others, they have to set aside their own emotions and try to be there for the students. That's what we're there for. And it's even tougher because some of the students didn't know the person who'd passed, and they really didn't know how to feel. They felt the general sadness, but some of them knew him. And to walk in the next day after and see these signs on over 2,000 lockers, and we still don't necessarily know who put them there. This was a couple of students who put these on 2,000 lockers. They don't want anyone to know they did it. It wasn't to be on the news. But if you could felt what that did for the student body to walk in and see that, amidst all their other turbulent emotions at the time, it's really hard to put into words. And it was such a beautiful thing. It really helped everybody heal. Later that week, I was asking my students, freshmen, how they were doing, because it was an extremely exhausting, emotional week on so many levels. You can tell this note's from a freshman. Boy, there's food spilled on it. There's no doubt about it. But I asked them how they were doing, and this young man took the time to ask me how I was doing. And I think in that position, you remember that they still can tell. We think we're fooling them by telling them that we're fine, and we go to school when we're not feeling great, and we're there for them to support them. But for them to sense just in a very human way that I was hurting too, and for him to try to offer me some advice and ask me how I was doing, most teachers save the nice notes they get in cars. That one's in my desk drawer. That one's there when I can pull that out, and I see it all the time. It was just such a really, really neat moment for me in the midst of something that could easily have been perceived as negative. A staff member at our school, our assistant principal, you may even be on this page. His son was diagnosed with cancer recently, very suddenly, as unexpectedly as you can try to imagine. And they're fighting it right now, and we're all hoping and praying for them. But within hours of it being announced, and that number's probably not accurate, there were so many people whose first instinct was just to say, what can we do to help? Whatever it is, we're going to stop what we're doing. And no, being on a Facebook page doesn't magically solve anything. But that just symbolizes what I'm trying to say. It was the choice to make to say, this must be difficult, but how can we help? What can we do? Not for attention, not to get anything special, not to be on the news. We recently had a fundraising dinner in Dublin, and our faculty band played. And some of Gunner's favorites from the Blue Jackets and the Buckeyes showed up, and it was an amazingly emotional night, very, very powerful. Money was raised, and it was such a great moment of community. But that's really not the point. The point is that we weren't able to stop anything bad from happening, but we were able to change how we perceived it and to try to offer comfort and support however we could, because this isn't about making sure to eliminate the bad things in the world. I could get no more personal than this example. My dad was recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and as you might imagine, that has caused sadness and pain and worry and fear, and this is where I get to take my own advice. If you've been through this, and I'm sure you have with this size crowd, there's no point in doing anything with those emotions right now, especially with a disease like Alzheimer's. All that makes sense to do is to enjoy every second. And that's on a beach in the Bahamas recently, so you can see we're figuring out how to take our own advice. Absolutely. All right, so these are my examples. So how does this apply to everybody else? Moment by moment, beautiful things are happening. And if you pay attention to them, they can mean something to you. Because you are not going to stop the bad things from happening, but you can choose how you're going to perceive them. On a daily basis, we make that choice. Choosing to see the beautiful does not mean you're ignoring everything else. But in life's news feed, if you choose to look for it, you will see the beauty. Thank you.